colors.
He's just doing a concept site plan,
What thing was it?
so he had a couple of things he wanted to get some feedback.
White piece of paper, red shirt.
Have one in the town. It's probably about it.
Of course, by the time the meeting starts.
See, I can't do it. I can't go because she'll just, and she's after school, and then she runs around and
I hate
like.
to lose the
So it has to be something that's like
revenue generating.
we go like in the middle, functional. Yes.
Ready?
Yeah.
You guys ready?
That's all C2.
Yeah.
All right.
So he has that kind of flexibility there.
All right, we're going to get started. All right. All right, we'll call to order the February 2018 Visual Resources Review Board meeting for the town of Farragut. The first item on the agenda tonight is the approval of minutes from our January 2018 meeting. Do we have any discussion on those minutes? Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Moving down to the wall signs that have been approved. There's 3 that were approved since our last meeting. Is there any comments or questions related to those 3?
Not for me, no. I don't think any of them have been, well, yeah, actually. Maybe Knox Graphics and Little Scissor, I think, have been installed, I believe.
Okay.
They're both in Stonecrest Shopping Center.
Okay. All right, well, we'll move down to the ground-mounted sign applications. The first one on the agenda is for State Farm Insurance at 10811 Kingston Pike.
Okay, this is a reuse of an existing building out near, before you get to Costco on the north side of Kingston Pike. And putting an insurance business in there. And the sign, in order to meet the setback, the existing sign that was there was old and non-conforming, and so the new owner is created a new landscaped island to put the sign in, and it'd be less than 20 square, right at 20 square feet, so it can be closer to the property line. So it's let's see here. There's the site plan. In the upper upper left part of the image there, it shows the proposed sign location, and he again is adjusting the curb line to basically create a landscaped area that was a parking space, so that they can situate the sign and meet the 10-foot setback from the right-of-way of Kingston Pike. So that's where the placement is, and again the sign is like I say, 20 square feet, and that's pretty much what the sign would look like. I think the name is 4-inch letters, and then you got 11-inch on the top line, and then the address numbers are 8 inches. So it should be, it looks pretty clean to me, even though the letter size on some of it's relatively small. I think it's pretty legible. And I don't know if y'all have any questions or comments, but Mansour is here, the owner. He's just moved in, so I'm sure he's excited to try to get some signage up. So if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer those.
To the previous,
The azalea wall.
yes.
Yeah, that was a mistake by the sign company.
Okay.
It's gonna have,
I was like,
the person who did the drawing was sick with the flu.
Gotcha.
So somebody filled in to try to put those in. And so it's gonna have 3 azaleas on each side, and then a rhododendron in the front and the back. And then we're also gonna do some additional landscaping around it to just make it look really clean and natural.
okay. I would suggest white azaleas,
Okay.
so.
So
for
then
myself.
match with the red?
Yes.
That's a good idea.
For sure.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So it would match a little bit. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that looks a little,
it was
that
like,
looks funny.
what exactly? Thank you for clarifying.
Well, similar to other ground-mounted signs, we would condition the approval on the verification of the setback, and just, I know that Monsieur want to make the sign look nice, so I'm not really concerned about it not being well landscaped. But that's something he'll have to do, of course. It's internally illuminated, so I don't know if
Only
you
the State Farm will be illuminated on the mount, so the name and the phone number would not be, and it'll be internally LED channel lit. So there's no red will be lit at night either.
It's good.
Okay. I think it's very legible. The State Farm will be very easy to read as you drive down Kingston Pike. I don't know how much you want them to be able to see your name and the telephone number, but going down that stretch of Kingston Pike with 3.5, 4-inch letters, that will be a little difficult for someone to be able to see that, I think.
This
I think
kind
they'll
of-
see the State Farm without any trouble.
This kind of brings up a sign that we had a couple months ago that we were all back and forth on about a phone number on the sign. And there was a lot of question if.
Did we not?
Yes, there was a lot of
Yeah.
debate on that and whether we were going to allow that.
Yes, that's true.
So,
But it was more like a.
I don't get involved with the content, so.
good answer.
We've heard this discussion before.
As long as it doesn't say anything
address-
about me on
Will the
there.
numbers be illuminated at all? The numbers? Or just state?
I don't think
just
they're
State Farm?
proposed to be illuminated. I mean, we have recommended with some of these signs that try to maybe incorporate, some framing in the address numbers so it is more, I don't know how to describe it necessarily, but maybe just make it look like more part of the sign, so you'd kind of just bring a kind of a
Yeah,
Oh, this, yeah.
down.
because you tend to look for the number.
And you wouldn't be penalized for the square footage or the height or anything on that, if you wanted to do that.
And the
Sometimes
cost
it
wouldn't be
gives
that
it a
much
little,
either, I don't think.
gives a little more unified approach with the rest of
I
the
like
sign.
that.
Something to think about. But I mean, like I say, it wouldn't affect your square footage because that would be area that you're really addressing the address numbers with, so.
It would emphasize the address a little better. But you don't have to do that. That's just it's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be a little more unique than the box numbering that you see on a lot of signs.
Yeah.
It would stand out a little bit better if you wanted to look at something like that.
Okay, yeah, I can talk to the sign company about doing that.
Okay.
Anybody else have any?
All right. Any further discussion, comments? Okay. Do we have a motion on it?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Have a good afternoon. You can go now.
Is that it? Okay.
That's right.
3 babies at home.
That's
You can go or you can stay and watch.
Stay and watch it.
It's up to you.
Stay and rest.
You
I
want to
appreciate it.
leave.
Y'all have a great day. I'll see you soon.
I can see you will wonder whether you had to stay or not.
Thank you all. See you.
Item on the ground mounted signs is TD Ameritrade. So it looks like that's just a panel replacement.
Yeah, it is.
Have you talked to them after?
Well, I did to the sign company. I mean, I just think it's going to be hard to read that, but the Scott Trade is apparently was bought out by TD Ameritrade.
I'm surprised they
and-
didn't want to change it or make it larger.
I don't know if they're just trying to provide more border around there, but I guess it's probably, there's some other stuff on that sign that's not much better.
Terrible.
It's a busy sign. I mean,
Smallest. I'm surprised.
I don't like all that clutter on the sign in the first place, but that's just me.
Yeah, that one's kind of gotten there over time, but to
Yeah.
me, the lettering on that is really small, even on that sign.
Yeah. I
It's,
think it's, yeah, let's
I like the
see.
sign, but it just, I don't know why they would
Yeah,
not
the
want to
Amer-
make it larger.
I think the
You probably
Ameritrade
can't
is,
make it a whole lot larger.
is probably
No,
like
I
2.5 inches. It's pretty small.
Yeah.
The Ameritrade,
They-
yeah,
they
it's
could-
pretty small.
well, I mean, it's block letters. It's going to be easy to read. The only issue I would have is if they could make the height of those letters a little bit bigger, I think it would be easier for them to get business.
Yeah, I mean, that's-
Because
yeah,
that sign has a lot going on with all the other things on it, and there's a lot of colors, and I think that it would help people find them.
yeah.
And so Fidelity is their competition, it's down the road and you can see theirs.
I did suggest that to the sign.
And they didn't,
They didn't change it.
Well, that one below it is not very good either, though.
No, like I say, there's some others on there that probably aren't very good either.
but that one is just the smallest of all, which surprises me that they do not want to change it because of all of those there. That's the largest.
They've got room to really kind
They do.
of bring it out just a little bit. Some border.
Not suggest again.
So do the,
Yeah, I mean, that can be, if that's the way you want to recommend it, we can.
I'm
I
sure
mean-
we get to the point where we just discourage multi-tenant ground mounted signs. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can never make them look good. You just,
Oh,
you
they're
can
very
try
difficult.
so hard and have continuity, and you
Yeah.
still have somebody that wants to introduce something that's different. And we've struggled with it, and at Renaissance, we just opted not to do it at all. Just to have
Yeah.
a ground mounted sign with Renaissance.
I think that's
And let
smart.
the wall mounted signs do the
Speak for
talking.
themselves.
And really on Parkside Drive, it's the wall mounted signs that draw people. You can't read this driving by.
No, you can't
But
read that.
that is just so.
It's clutter.
It's very, very busy and.
Well, if he could take the TD off the side and just have a Ameritrade and maybe put the TD up in the corner.
No, I
or
think
something.
that they probably would
I
definitely.
think that's their logo,
That's
basically.
logo.
it
and
still
so-
looks like they could.
Yeah, they could widen
Scale
it,
it
I
up.
believe.
Height,
Yeah.
too. I mean, they've got room to do.
And
The
then a little bit-
Ameritrade, does that meet our requirements?
I mean, it's, like I say, the A is about 2 inches high. I mean, that's very small.
I think we need to
What's our
recommend
requirement? Do we
them
have a minimum?
Well, we usually look
box
around
up as much
4
as they
at a
can.
minimum.
So I say we just go ahead and refuse it, send it back, and tell them they need to make it bigger, because that's,
They definitely need to make
I
it
mean,
into
that can
their
be your
advantage.
recommendation, yeah.
yeah, kick it back.
I mean, I like the sign, I like the way it is, the block letters and all that stuff, it's just, it's too small.
And there's a whole lot of white there that they could
Yeah,
be utilizing.
exactly, yeah.
It's all cluttered anyway, like you said, but, you know.
Yeah.
But it is what it is once it's there. They're gonna wanna use it, the tenants are gonna wanna use it, but
Sure.
they're not getting anything out of that sign.
No.
Now, we used to have the ground signs were like that, like Renaissance, where the centers just had the name of the center. But then
How
when
did we get to this?
it was the chamber and others wanted to get more, and I get it, I understand,
And then the
get more
other part,
visibility.
like Knox,
And when we overhauled the sign ordinance, we allowed for the multiple tenant, and it's just sometimes like Village Greens looks pretty good because they try to blend it in pretty well. All the panels are green and it kind of looks like it's
Yeah.
They're
together.
bigger, but when they get this small, think of like Kroger, Brooklawn, it has a multi-tenant sign on both Camel Station and Kingston Pike, but they're only allowing basically out of 60 square feet. They're using the bulk of it for Kroger, and they're only allowing a couple other panels in there. It's just, we've got, and maybe that would be the way to rewrite the ordinance at some point, is to come up with a proportion that's more appropriate. He said, what they're gonna try to do is based on a 20-foot setback, they're gonna try to get a 60 square foot sign, which I suspect is this one a 60?
Yeah.
And so, so you just, all of a sudden, when you divide that by 12, you're still in these tiny little panels. And I think if there was ever gonna be a text amendment, it should be just with looking at the proportions and the scale. And so a 60 square foot sign, maybe what would really be most appropriate would be, half the number, maybe 6. You could get 6 total panels to fit in there instead of 12 panels.
so this would still, if we did that, it would still take yours because
Well,
this
they're
is grandfathered in.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do about
So
that. I'm talking
unless,
about in the
but
future
if
for new
one
ground mounted signs.
changes, it's, how do you ever get this to change?
Well, you could, but not with this. I mean, this is gonna be 12
That this is
panels
in the
year to
future,
perpetuity.
which is a great thing to do. in
But
the
I'm thinking for
future.
new developments, new
Yeah.
multi-tenant developments where the developer wants a multi-tenant sign, which is, again, I think a waste. maybe that would be the thing, is to look at proportions. That would make more sense, especially when you have design speeds at 35 or 45 on Kingston Pike. Your design speeds, you're not reading any of that. I mean, you're looking at the wall signs. When you're driving up and you're trying to find a destination for the first time, you're looking at the wall signs. You're not looking
It
at
looks
this.
tacky.
And even in Turkey Creek, I don't ever look at this sign. I look at the wall signs that are on the building behind it.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no way.
It's sort of tacky.
Well,
Yeah.
the one that does draw my eye in, and I do
The bed
look for
store.
the names on the sign, but the bed store draws my
Yep.
eye.
It's the biggest letters.
It's the biggest
And it's right
letters,
next to
and it's
Ameritrade,
red
which is the
and
smallest.
black.
And so Ameritrade is right there beside them. That may help them some, but
But that's a good point, because bed store draws your eye and it's larger, and the black and the red, and then that even makes TD Ameritrade even worse.
Yeah.
Because it's
It's
so
smaller.
small.
Well, the other signs in this panel are filling out the space to the best that they can. This would be the only one not doing that. So I think if we approve it, it should be subject to filling out that space. Or we could either not approve
Should
it.
help them. I don't know why they would, we're trying to,
Big
I'm
help.
wondering if it was the sign guy.
I don't know what happened there.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine that they.
I mean, it's,
This-
but you're
Right.
saying they already have it up.
oh, I don't think, no, they
Oh.
shouldn't.
But look at Scottrade, I mean, just,
Now, that's how it should look.
that's the way it should look.
It's very legible.
And it even sort of balances out Scottrade, that one causes the other one stuff not to look so bad.
Right. It works.
It works.
So is it to our advantage to just reject it or table it while they look at a recommendation from us?
I would say reject it and make the recommendation to scale up the letters. You say it's currently at 2, and we typically say 4.
I think that's
It's a guess,
A
right?
is-
Because
So
they
we
didn't
don't
put it
know
on
really
there.
what it-
They didn't put it on there.
how they do that.
You can approve it subject to taking the TD logo and the rest of it, sizing it,
Yeah.
sizing it to the
To the
size of the
that
panel.
panel.
And that way they're not having to come back next month. You could have it.
Oh, that's what I would
That'd
recommend.
be good, yeah.
That way they could,
That'd be clear.
you could email it to us if you had a
Yes.
question
We'll
or
ask you to
something.
make the-
Yeah, let's do that. We'll do what Noah says.
Well, I agree with what he says, because I would rather not hold them up a month if
I
it's something
agree.
they can just adjust.
Yeah.
So what would you suggest then?
Well, it's up to you all, but I mean, you can recommend
Sort of what we
that
were saying is approve it
they
subject
spread
to
it out more over the
enlarging it all so it
space.
fills the space.
So if we reject it, then that means that they're gonna be held up for a month.
Right.
But if we approve it subject to, then they can talk to you and get started.
Or they
Right.
could send a
right.
revision if I felt like I needed to
I
send
mean,
it
I
to
like
you
the
all.
sign, it just needs to be larger.
Right.
Okay,
Simple.
I'll make that motion,
Okay.
that we approve it pending
ask
the
for?
recommendation.
I didn't ask for a motion, that's okay.
Oh, okay, I'll wait then till you ask me. Are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Well,
I didn't know you had to ask.
Out of control here.
is there any further discussion on this sign?
Sorry.
Motion away.
I will make the motion that we approve this sign with the recommendation that they look at enlarging the letters to a standard of 4, or to
Just
at least take
enlarging
up
it
the
to-
space in the sign.
Yeah.
Fill out the
Be
panel.
enlarging it
Yeah.
to fill out more of the space.
Recommendation.
Okay,
Subject to.
I would make it
Subject to.
purely
subject to, okay,
adjusting the scale
Yeah.
to the size of the panel.
there you go.
What?
That's it,
But
okay.
if you do a recommendation, it's not binding.
Yeah.
Right.
If it's recommendation, they can say, we don't care.
I don't like that. We're gonna do it just like that.
Subject to, they have to do it.
Okay, I make the motion
Subject to.
subject to them enlarging the letters to meet the amount of space that's on the sign.
Okay.
That's on the board that will have the sign.
All right. So we have a motion to recommend subject to enlarging it to fill out the space.
Good.
Do we have a second on that motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Of course, I'm like, you know, what's-
All right. So with that, we will move down to the landscape plan applications and BKW Restaurant. Needing a bigger space. It's always a good thing when a business
Yes, it is.
needs a little bit bigger space. It means they're doing well.
Yeah, we're glad they're staying in Farragut, that's for sure. They're moving down to the westernmost out parcel in Renaissance. It's kind of a challenging little out parcel. It's got a drainage way along the east part and the south as well. And so it's been a challenge to try to fit this kind of in here. They're actually doing some shared parking on the other side of the creek over on the Renaissance project for this development. But as far as the landscape plan, it's pretty simple. There's not a buffer strip requirement. The stormwater detention is actually accommodated in a basin that was created as part of the Renaissance development, so it's not really even on this out parcel. So mainly it's just fulfilling the requirements of the shade tree provisions and landscaping between the parking lot and the building, and they comply with those provisions. The building, like we've been trying to encourage, is moved up close to Kingston Pike. It's pretty much an all brick building. It's going to be a nice looking building. But that does create a little bit of a question about fulfilling the shade tree requirements that we have between the building and the street. So we are considering that access road, even though it's not a public street, but along the east as part of, a street, so that, they can accommodate their shade trees between the building and that to meet that front yard requirement for having shade trees in the front yard, because it's really a front yard there as well, even though that's not a public street. The comments that the staff had included in your packet have largely been addressed. The only thing I just need to get with Mark about was I recounted one of the shrubs, and I don't know if I'm just missing something or not, but I still get 29 of those Indian hawthorns instead of 36. And it's something I may be just miscounting, but that's really the only comment that's left on this one. So if y'all have any
What did you switch the
questions?
blackberries or the?
He switched that out with sweet spire,
Sweet spire?
Yeah.
Sweet
which is a native shrub, and it does very well. We've got a lot of those on our parks. So, yeah, it should be a nice development.
And the red maples, where are the red maples? Can you point them out to me?
They're in different places on the site. I believe it, let me look here. I believe it's these trees here. Whoop, that's not good. Okay. I don't know what I did there. Let's go back to... Okay.
Oh, yeah, you can't read those.
It's hard to see,
Yeah.
but I think
That's
it's
what I
these
thought
here.
was that one and that one, that one. But where's the fifth? Oh, you got it. Okay.
Down here.
Yeah, and then they got a lot of shrubs around the front and really pretty much the whole building. There's an outdoor, there'll be kind of a covered outdoor seating area on the east side of the building, and they've got some shrubs on the east side of that along that drainage area. The drainage area kind of comes through here like this, and then there's also drainage area in the south part of the property.
Only count four, so it's also
So,
Where is this from the eye center? There?
From the Isarian?
No, the eye center.
Oh, the drive where you see the two arrows, that's the same drive. That's the western entrance of Renaissance.
Okay.
So this would be directly north and west of the eye
Cunningham
doctors.
and Campbell, yeah.
Mhm. So the closer to Kingston Pike. That building is really only 20 feet off of the edge of the right-of-way off Kingston Pike. It's kind of a new philosophy of tucking the parking lots behind buildings, trying to emphasize the architecture and not the sea of asphalt.
it's pretty similar to that office building that they're starting construction on where the old Weigels used to be. It's pretty similar in size and appearance too.
I helped early on, but that's not mine.
Well, I didn't know that the other was Renaissance. I did not know that their original property was Renaissance.
Which one?
This one?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Had no
This one-
idea.
Yeah, this was just part of what we were
I had no idea.
waiting
It
until
was-
there was a retail demand for.
I did not know
And then
that.
someday we'll bring the big center outlot to you, but that's way down the pike, literally.
Well, I'm just glad you got some restaurants. I mean, it's like some that you actually can go in.
That's the idea. You don't have to go to Turkey Creek to go out to eat. So.
Almost now, and especially now that Armory's is on.
Well, that's a growing part of the town. I think it's probably where the future of the town is,
Right.
along that part of Kingston Pike and Watt Road.
Once they get the road above,
McPhee.
totally
Yeah.
in. Matters.
So, does anybody have any questions about?
Couldn't find out of a little red maple.
I think it looks like a good plan.
Yep.
All right, do we have any further discussion or questions about the plan? Okay, do we have a motion on the landscape plan for BKW?
Go for it.
Motion to approve the plan.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you, Noah.
See, this was easy. How's it feel to be back to, we switched places, you know.
Well, he used to be on, were you on this
He
board?
was here.
You on this?
We just switched. We just,
Oh.
yeah,
Okay.
MPC and I, they said, well, we just switched genders because we're both big now. We have a lot of questions, don't we? Usually.
You gotta learn, right? You
That's right.
gotta learn without asking questions.
All right, well, the last item on our agenda is you've got the Adopt a Stream update.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch base with you all about this. First of all, I don't want to pressure you to do anything, so it's really up to you all what you want to do. But we need, if we are interested in staying in the program, we'll probably need to start getting on a consistent schedule of, even though probably twice a year is overkill for our section, we found it's still something that we would need to do as part of the Adopt a Stream program. And they're also recommending an additional volunteer activity, which could dovetail into if we become a tree city, you know, that if y'all are kind of over that, our tree board, you know, tree planting and stuff like that is an option under this Adopt a Stream. So there's lots of things, you know, in that brochure that Abby was talking about that would kind of blend in well with the tree city and a tree board. The section that we have, for those of y'all that have participated in the cleanups, and some of you have done many of them, including me, it takes about 2 hours, although you can leave whenever you want to. You can just let me know before you leave. But and usually we do them in the fall or spring before it gets real hot and kind of overgrown. And it's generally a pretty good time. We've picked up a lot of stuff over the years.
Last year. Oh, gosh.
No, we
But
didn't.
We did it. Daryl.
Yeah.
A few of us. That was whenever that you came and we'd already finished or something.
Yeah, something like,
A
yeah, that's
couple of
right.
years ago. Let me ask you, the one question I have, is it just, are we the only ones that are doing this? Or
There's
do
4 groups right now
from
that are doing.
From
Not,
the town of
yeah,
Farragut?
4 groups that are the variety of community groups that are
I was
involved.
wondering if, like, would it be to where, you were talking about twice a year? If we could get another group with, I mean, this is just a suggestion, but like, another group.
To help with us, you're
Yes.
talking about?
To help like NPC or one of the other zoning boards or
Yeah.
a board, to where that we could do it, and it could be done twice a year, and like
Alternate.
alternate.
We've got a sign out on Grigsby Chapel Road that says we've cleaned that stream section.
VRRB does?
Yeah.
Right.
Or VRRB, I always say VRB.
Yeah.
To me, it's like visual resource
I mean, it's
review.
not a false sign. We
Huh?
just need to get reactive in it if we're going to do it, because we've definitely done a lot of cleanups. I don't know how many. I guess we've done at least probably 10 or more, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, we were doing it very consistently there for a while, at least every year.
Yeah, it was.
The last 2 or 3 years, we have not been consistent. It's not that hard to do, and I think it's better to do it in the fall when it's
I think so.
or the early spring when it
Yes.
still hasn't started to grow out.
Yeah, we'd probably need to do
Much
it either
better.
in pretty much right now if we were doing it in
Yeah.
the spring, or and it sounds like we might need to do it twice, but then maybe November or something.
Right.
October.
And I understand that
That's the-
a lot of you, that we're not going to get 100% of people to be able to make it. We
No.
never have. If we just have one or two, I mean, that's what we have.
We had
But
the last time 2 or 3.
so,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if y'all are interested in staying in the program, or if so, like I say, we'll probably have to start getting on a consistent schedule again of twice a year. And again, understanding that there's going to be times when certainly not everyone can make it, and that's understandable because everybody's busy. Usually we do these on Saturday mornings.
By the time it's 11 o'clock, it's finished.
It's
Yeah,
usually pretty
it
early.
usually
Yeah,
is.
The more you have, the faster it gets done.
Yeah. That's
So,
true.
what does everyone think?
Better in the
Silence.
spring, so there's not football on Saturdays. Just saying.
There's a lot going on in the fall. That's right.
There's a whole lot.
But doing it in spring, you really need to do it early, like right now in February to early
I think
March.
This is probably a good time.
Don't want to wait until late March, April. But I guess the question is, does everyone want to continue doing it?
Yeah, that's really the first question.
And
It's
I don't
it's
know if
really not
everyone
up
here has
to me.
even
It's up to you all.
participated before because we
Well,
haven't done it.
I
But
haven't because of this. I can't because I bruise easily and I can't
Okay.
afford to get hit or hit anything. But, you know, I'm wondering if there's something else a person like me could do, like bring sausage biscuits or coffee or something. I mean, if there was something you
Yeah.
could do besides just.
nobody's turning that down.
I'll take some
I mean,
sausage
I always
biscuits and
feel,
coffee.
Show up for that.
I
Yeah.
always feel bad about
That
it,
would
but,
get some. That would get a
Right.
100% participation.
you know, there are reasons why people can't actually do the handling
yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
fine.
But there ought to be something else, you know, person.
I mean, it's uneven ground. It's not. It's.
Yeah.
I mean, you could definitely
For that
fall
thing. I
there.
don't
And
like
we had
being
one
there.
lady that fell. It used
Yeah.
to be a member of the VRB. She
So-
fell on the bank.
That creek thing, I don't like that at all, because it's, I mean,
Yeah.
Or get a
Yeah,
younger group
it's-
of people on this board.
I like those little things. to
Well,
pick
it's really
stuff
up to you all. I don't want to, like I say, I don't want to pressure y'all. If you don't want to continue, that's fine. If you do, that's fine. I mean, obviously, we'd love to have you continue. We just need to, you know, if we're going to, go ahead and schedule stuff, and whoever can make
Right.
it can
Yes, we
make
got to
it.
stick to it.
Who can't, and that's fine.
Right. I mean, everybody has a lot going on, and so,
Sound like they want to.
but it's a worthy.
It doesn't sound
it's a
like they
worthy
want to.
thing.
I've got other
It doesn't sound like
things I
they want to.
volunteer with, and I know 4 years I've been on this board now. Anytime it's come up, it's normally short notice, and I've already got that day booked. That's what's
Yeah.
happened every time with me. Is by the time I'm notified, I've already got the time booked and just can't do it.
Probably what we would do if we stayed in the program is we'd just plan it way ahead, and
It'd be
you
better.
know,
Yeah,
And have a
Weather's not
day, yeah,
good.
that would be better.
yeah.
that way, you know, you can plan for it or whatever. I mean, like weeks and weeks ahead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Because that's been my issue. Is anytime we've had it come up, has been like we've talked about it the meeting before. You're like, oh, we're going to do it in 2 weeks. Well, I've already got plans.
Yeah,
so.
I totally understand. I think we're all in that boat.
Well, I'll put
So,
it this way, I could take care of you if you get hurt. I am a nurse. I'm a registered nurse. I hadn't thought about that, but if you fall or something. But I guess I've never had a value because I felt like I couldn't actually get the string to do it.
well, I like the sausage biscuit offer.
The last time, I thought it was really neat, there was a couple that were walking, and they always would bring a bag. And see, you can actually walk on some parts of it.
Greenway, yeah.
Yeah, the Greenway, and they actually do that all the time and pick up. They said so they came, they said, here's the bag for you guys to,
Yep.
they had already, that's what they do. But it was cute because he threw the stuff down and said, since you're picking all the stuff up, I'll just give you some more trash. And I just looked at him and he said, no, I'm just kidding. Here's all the stuff that we always pick up.
Well,
Stuff in there and you'd think.
maybe I could suggest that we keep it for this year and schedule a date for the fall really early, like next meeting or something, as a suggestion. And if we can't make that work this year, this sounds like we might need to put it on hiatus.
If we can, next meeting, set a date, and that gives me till, that
Gives us
I
all.
can make that work, yeah.
I mean, I've got a lot of stuff already going on in the fall because of my daughter's schedule and mine. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a busy time.
So we don't have like any of the other organizations that would want to kind of, I know,
The sign says VRRB, so
yeah.
we want to, if we want to have our name out on that sign, we need to be the ones to do it.
And we have had some family members help. I don't know if that's
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine. So it's not like you can't bring.
Yeah, Christos brought his whole kids and everything.
Yeah.
About 6 of them.
Well, and a lot
Yeah,
of these,
yeah.
if anybody has like.
That's the way to get it done.
That was a good group right there.
That's,
Yeah.
Sometimes
Where's-
the volunteer hours for school
Kids out
and
there.
stuff like that, that would be
You
great
would
for them. Or Boy Scouts or
rain
Girl
boots
Scouts.
and be like, let's
It's fun,
go.
actually. It's kind
It
of.
is, it's
Right.
not bad, except I didn't like the water part.
I heard someone mention snakes earlier. I killed a copperhead.
That's what
Just
she
the
was
other
saying.
day.
work.
Yeah.
I thought that they were not out
But
yet.
I was surprised when I seen it.
I
It's,
thought it was like the water.
We had some warm days there.
Never seen
Really good. That's boys too.
one on the stream cleanup.
How old are you?
No, I haven't seen one now.
Well, they say if your name's on it, you should be proud of your work, so I think we should do it another year.
They're close.
And I'll
Yeah,
do
I agree.
next meeting, let's
Yeah.
just
Plan it
put a
next-
date and
let's
give
look
us
at our
several
schedule.
months to
So are we looking at
plan.
October then? First part of October into
Well,
September?
I would say probably maybe November.
Yeah, probably.
It's
Okay,
colder.
So
a little colder.
November.
Probably
Okay,
very early
so
November.
it'll be colder and the snakes will be gone and we won't have to
Yeah.
worry about.
You're,
At the football.
you're worried about these
She's
snakes,
looking at
aren't
the
you?
football schedule right now. So, hold on a second.
All schedule, I guess.
What's in November, a free day?
Matter last year, but
It matters.
It'll matter this.
who knows?
It matters.
It always matters.
You go to them?
Of course.
It always
I don't even know who the coach is now. What's his name?
Pruitt.
Pruitt.
Came from Alabama.
And the other coach is
I like
interviewing with
Alabama.
Alabama, the one that just
Basketball
left.
game's on right now,
Is
too.
interviewing with Alabama.
What did
I didn't know
she
Heard
say?
that yesterday.
I said the basketball game's on right now.
We can talk about it.
Well, does that sound
we'll
like a
talk about
plan, though, to
November, yeah. November
try it
would be
one
good.
more year? Is everybody in agreement? And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's try to.
then let's try and schedule the next meeting and see what we can get done then.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
All right.
I agree.
With-
Kind of look at your schedules in November and see what it looks like.
Okay.
Since we've
All right.
already missed the spring part.
Yes.
We're supposed to have already done it.
Yeah,
Too late.
Alrighty.
Too late.
Snakes have already beat you. Too late.
So November sounds good.
All right. Well, with that,
Sounds
we
good.
will adjourn for this month. Thank you, everyone.
Mark, I will not be here next month. Do we already have things planned for next month?
Not that I know of
Okay.
at this point.
Anybody else going to be gone?